Hello and welcome back, everyone. Great to be with you here for our second study of the portion of Miketz. And we had a beautiful study yesterday where we awakened our consciousness to the power of study, of a true connection to the tree of life, of a true study of the Torah, of the Zohar. And we want to meditate that we keep all that in mind as we begin today's study. We want to meditate that through our study, we are grabbing a hold of the tree of life. Through our connection to the Zohar, we are accessing the limitless light of our soul, of our consciousness, grabbing a hold of that connection to blessings, to energy, to light, to the power to transform, to hear the call of our soul, hear the call of the Creator, hear the call of the Torah that is uh, assisting us, calling us to change, assisting us to change, to become who we're really meant to be. And we're now going to go a little bit more into the understanding of Joseph in the beginning of the portion. But we want to meditate that through this study we overcome our selfishness another degree today, overcome the left column, desire to receive, another degree today, and awaken more love in the world. We know during the time of the Omer, everything we want to focus on is all about unity, love, removing separation. That way we can correct this time during the Omer. Today is the 19th day of the Omer, so it's the day of Hod, Shebet Tiferet. The week of Tiferet is all about restriction, all about actually very much related to what we're going to discuss today. So, without further ado, let's share my screen and let's jump right in. Here it is. With deep appreciation for this merit, for this blessing, with access to the Zohar, to have access to this great light, we meditate that we connect to the soul of all the tzaddikim. We are not studying from an ancient book. It's the light of the Creator directly teaching us. As Rabbi Shimon, who is standing next to us and teaching us, revealing this light and wisdom to us. Here we go. ריבון העולמים ואדוני האדונים, אב הרחמים והסליחות, מודים אנחנו לפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו, וכידע ושתחוויה שקרבתנו לתורתך ולעבודתך, עבודת הקודש, ונתת לנו חלק בסודות תורתך הקדושה. ואנו בחיינו שעשיתי בנו חסד גדול כזה. על כן אנחנו מפלילים תחנונים לפניך שתמחול ותסלח לכל חטאותינו ועוונותינו, ואל יהיו עוונותינו מבדילים בינינו לבניך. וכן יהי רצון לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, שתכונן את לבבינו ליראתך ולאהבתך, ותקשיב אוזניך לדברינו אלה, ותפתח לבבינו הערה בסודות תורתך, ויהיה לימודנו זה נחת רוח לפני כיסא כבודך כך ניחוח, ותציל עלינו עומר כל נשמתנו וכל בחינתנו, ושיתנוצצו ניצוצות עבדיך הקדושים, שעל ידם גילית דבריך בעולם, וזכותם וזכות אבותם, וזכות תורתם ותמותם וקדושתם, יעמוד לנו לבני כאשר בדברים אלו, ויזכותם תערננו, ומה שאנו לומדים כמאמר נעים זמירות ישראל גלנה והביטה נפלא מתורתך, כי אדוני ייתן חוכמה מפיו דעת ותבונה, יהיו לרצון עם מפיו הגיוני מלפניך אדוני צורי וגואלי. Okay, so paragraph 7. Paragraph 7 of the Zohar, we're continuing. So the Zohar is going back to the first verse of this portion of Miketz. And it says, Vahi Miketz. So the portion begins with the phrase, and it came to pass. Vahi Miketz. Vahi Miketz, and it came to pass at the end of. End of what? End of 2 years. Joseph was in prison for 10. This is another additional 2 years that he spent in prison. And Pharaoh has a dream. We explained yesterday, Miketz means the end of, which connects to, as we said, Ketz Sam Lachoshech. The Creator put an end to the darkness. So this represents the end to Joseph's darkness, the end to all the process of darkness that Joseph went through, being sold as a slave, living as a slave, being in prison for 12 years. This is the end of this whole process, how the darkness had expired in Joseph's process, and now it was time for the revelation of light. Same thing with Jacob also going through his darkness. The darkness for everyone was coming to an end because they were finally kind of making that turn and coming to the light, coming to the blessings. So my Miketz. Rabbi Shimon asks, what is Miketz? What is the meaning of Miketz, the end of? Rabbi Shimon says, Ata de late ba zechira. So Rabbi Shimon is saying that the place, Miketz represents a place, represents a consciousness where there is no memory. We'll explain what memory means. V'dahu ketz dismala. This is what's called the end of the left. The end of the left, like we explained a bit yesterday. My Tama, why is it the end of the left? Why is a place where there's no remembrance? You might say forgetfulness, the end of the left. Begin ichtiv, because it says, Ki'im zachartani itach, kashe itav lach. So when Joseph said to the chief butler, when he interpreted his dream, afterwards he says, but remember me when it is well with you, right? He told him, he saw in his dream with the grapes squeezing into Pharaoh's cup. So he says, look, you're going to be freed now. Please remember me when you're freed. Tell Pharaoh that I'm here and I'm innocent, and free me from this place. This was kind of the last thing he told him. Is it possible that a tzaddik like Joseph the righteous, is it possible that he would say, Ki'im zachatani itach, that he would say, if you remember me, please remember me, reading, and the Kabbalists teach that because Joseph asked the wine steward to remember him after he interpreted his dream, it caused Joseph to spend an additional 2 years in prison. He interpreted the dream at the end of the 10th year of his imprisonment, and because he asked for the wine steward to remember him, it added an additional 2 years. The Kabbalists teach that because Joseph put his trust in the person as instead of the creator, this caused him to delay the process. So Rabbi Shimon is saying, is it really possible that Joseph would have trust in a human being, in a person, more than the creator? So it wasn't that, and then the way we often explain it is because Joseph lost his certainty and he depended on a person, so it's caused him to spend more time in prison. But the Zohar is saying another way to understand it is not that Joseph lost his certainty, it's that Joseph misinterpreted the situation. Because when he saw in the dream, Amar Vadai, I think I should say Vadai. Yeah, it's missing a yud there, sorry. Amar Vadai Chelma Dizchira Ihu. He said, this dream must be a dream of remembrance. V'yuta b'hai, but he was mistaken. Because everything was dependent on the Creator. Now, again, if you understood this in a literal sense, without Rav Ashlag, you might say that the Zohar is saying, Rabbi Shimon is saying, that when Joseph asked the man to remember him, but the man forgot, because it's not about the person's remembrance of Joseph. It has to do with the Creator. The Creator will decide when his imprisonment is over. But Rav Ashlag explains it in a much deeper way. And we're going to go through a bit of Rav Ashlag's commentary here. It might take a little time, but the next 2 paragraphs will have a completely different understanding when we understand this. So here Rav Ashlag explains. Complete revelation of light happens only when there is a central column. Right? We said that this was at the end of the left. These 2 years represented the time of the left. So whenever it's extreme left, and this is also a very powerful practical lesson for us. Whenever, like we said yesterday, if we approach something from our left, from our reactive state, it's going to be controlled by the opponent, going to be controlled by the angel of death, like we said yesterday. So only with revelation of central column, only with restriction is light revealed. This is Kabbalah 1 things that we learn. We learned it so many times, but like we said yesterday, it's not just intellectually knowing something. It's when the heart is open and you really experience it, that you really know and really have certainty in restriction, really have certainty in certainty, really finally have certainty in the light. So the only revelation of light happens with the central column. Because until the central column comes in, Rav Ashlag reminds us that there is a battle, a tug of war between the right column and the left column. These two forces, the force of mercy and sharing versus the force of strength and boundaries and receiving, they are at war with each other. The right tries to control the left tries to control the right. That's why in the Zohar, when we studied about creation, the day 2 of creation was not a good day. It didn't say that it was good because Monday was this tug of war between right and left. There was forces of judgment, negativity. But comes Tuesday being the 3rd day of creation, then it says twice kitov, twice that it was good because finally there was balance, there was restriction. Both right and left could live in unison, in harmony. We're also not supposed to be only right column. We need our left column. We need to balance our left column. We need to take the good from our left column, the strength that comes with the left column. We can't only be one-sided. We need both. We need the symmetry of both. So, and the more technical aspect of why both are needed is because the right column has the light of mercy, chasadim, the left column has the light of wisdom, chokhmah, and with left column energy, without the two, there is no revelation of light. It's only when the central column comes and extracts the good of both. So now here Rav Ashlag explains when they are included within each other, there's 2 levels of inclusion. The first inclusion of the right and left column, if you look on the right column here, is when the left column is included within the right column, but it's the right column that dominates. Okay, so while there's right and left, the left is not controlling or overbearing or dominating, which is good. It's the right column that is dominating the left, but it's not expressing its left column nature, which means only the light of mercy shines. There is no light of wisdom. Okay, don't worry if you don't remember all of this. This is just to help us understand the next few sections. After next paragraph, if you forget it, don't worry about it. But I'm just bringing in what Rav Ashlag teaches. Now, we said at the end of the paragraph that he was mistaken. Joseph was mistaken because it was everything was dependent on the Creator. Because in this first frame, in the first inclusion, it's the level of Zeir Anpin, which is a code word for Kucha Brechu, the Holy One, blessed be He. Holy One, blessed be He is a code name for Zeir Anpin. Joseph thought the dream was different, but really it was still under the frame of Zeir Anpin, which is under the realm of forgetfulness. It's under the realm of concealed light. It's before the light is properly revealed. Because what is the second inclusion? That is when right and left column are included within each other. They hold an equal state of dominance, you might say. It's where the right shines with the illumination of Chokhmah because it receives from the left column, and the left shines with the illumination of Chasadim because it receives from the right column. It's where both shine in unison. Why? Because in the second inclusion is where the central column is revealed, and that's what's called, instead of being Zeir Anpin, which represents a state of concealment on its own, it's the level of Yesod of Zeir Anpin. It's the level of Joseph, where the central column shines from below the chest of Zeir Anpin. If you don't know all these technicalities, don't worry about it. But the code name for this reality is called Remembrance. So the Zohar reveals, Rav Ashlag reveals, that Joseph saw the dream of the wine steward, and he saw the 3 vines, the 3 grapes. He saw the 3 grapes, and he interpreted the dream as now it was the revelation of the 3, the central column. Joseph thought that this was his time, that this represented the Yesod of Zeir Anpin. This represented a time of remembrance. He understood that this dream represents that it's the second time of inclusion, which represents his time to rule, the Yesod of Zeir Anpin, the level of Joseph to be in control. He thought it was finally time for him to leave the slavery and the prison, and it was finally his time to be revealed. But the Zohar continues explaining paragraph 8. Ve'alda ata dahava be nashu kam kameh. However, it was actually still a time of forgetfulness. The world was still in a space of the first inclusion, which it was a time of the right column dominating the left, but it was still a realm of forgetfulness. Now, by the way, I want to explain something very beautiful that Michael Berg shared a few years ago about the opponent, the soul versus the opponent. We sing a song on the third on the second meal of Shabbat, the daytime of Shabbat. We call it Bom Bom. It's called Baruch Hashem Yom Yom. And during this song, we sing about the different exiles and redemptions that the Israelites have experienced, leading to the final redemption. We read about Egypt and Exodus from Egypt. We read about the Babylonian exile. We read about the Persian exile, like the story of Purim. We read about the the Greek, the story of the Greek exile, right, during the time of Chanukah. And then we read about the exile, what's called the the Roman exile, whatever it is. That's the destruction of the Second Temple. But then it says that the opponent, Satan, is going to make three mistakes, and that's how the end of the correction will occur. Now, the Kabbalists ask if Satan, if the opponent, the negative side is going to make these three mistakes, and that's how the redemption will come. Why do we sing this every day? If we sing it, won't he know the mistakes that he's going to make and then avoid making those mistakes? Why would we publicize the mistakes that he's going to make? So Michael Berg revealed, explained that nature of the left column, the nature of negativity is forgetfulness. The opponent is related to forgetfulness. The root word of forgetfulness, shichecha, is choshech, darkness. The opponent lives in a realm of darkness, of forgetfulness. The root word of remembrance is zechira, comes from the word zachar, which means the masculine aspect, revelation of light. The masculine versus feminine represents light and darkness, like the sun that shines and the moon that is dark on its own. The nature of the opponent is forgetfulness. Whenever we are forgetful, meaning forgetful of our blessings, forgetful of the light of the Creator, forgetful of certainty, forgetful of restriction, it means that we're controlled by the left side, we're controlled by the opponent. That's why remembering our blessings, appreciation is so important, because it connects us to this frame of the central column. It connects us to the revelation of light. It's a very powerful teaching. I hope I explained it well enough. But this was the reality that Joseph was in. He thought he was in the realm of remembrance. He thought he was in the realm of the revelation of light, but really he was still in the frame. The world was still in the frame of forgetfulness, was still in the frame of the control of the left column. And that's why it says that the last verse of the portion of Vayeshev is the chief butler did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. As much as he wanted to remember Joseph, he would forget him, right? It says, if it says he didn't remember him, why does it have to say he forgot him? He didn't remember him. But then it says Vayishkacheu, and he forgot him. Once it says that he didn't remember, why does it then say, and he forgot him? The Midrash tells a story of how actually every single morning the wine steward woke up and he wanted to go tell Pharaoh about Joseph every single day for 2 years. And it said that he would tie, let's say, a string around his finger so he would remember. He would tie a little knot around his shirt so he would remember. He would do all these things to remember. But it says there was a special angel that would untie the string from his finger. A special angel that would untie his shirt. A special angel that everything that the butler did, the angel would undo so that he would forget. Why? Because it's not about the person remembering. Of course, it was the Creator who had to reveal everything, but also because the realm of forgetfulness was still present. It was still in. It was still. Let's go back here. Sorry if I'm jumping around a little bit. It was still this phase of the first inclusion, still phase of forgetfulness. Ela v'yishkacheu, what does it mean? And he forgot him. Oops. Ata de'id be'shechicha, he was still in the realm, in the frame of forgetfulness. Redahu ketz desita dechoshech, and that represents the end of the left of the side of darkness, which represents the left column. Shnatayim yamim, what does it mean that he forgot him for 2 years? Excuse me, it was the end of 2 years. My shnatayim, what does two mean? Detav daga ledaga de'id be'zechira, that it went from the level of forgetfulness to the level of remembrance. It went from the level of the first inclusion, and 2 years represents two frames. It went to the end of the realm of the second inclusion, remembrance, which basically, if you don't understand all the technicalities of it, it represents the time where restriction shines, where the right and left columns shine together. The energy of Joseph emerges and dominates, and that's the energy of remembrance. Because here Rav Shimon continues to explain in the commentary, as long as the second inclusion does not occur, that is when all the klipot come and stand in the left column, and the light cannot be revealed. Because only when the second inclusion occurs does the consciousness, the frame of remembrance, of a connection to the Creator, the flow of light can fully occur. And therefore, when Joseph saw the dream, he misinterpreted it. And he had to wait for the 2 years to pass, which represent the completion of the first inclusion and the completion of the second inclusion. Joseph had to wait for these two processes to fully complete and for the central column to be revealed. And that's why at the end of the 2 years comes Pharaoh's dream. Pharaoh's dream comes at the end of the second inclusion, and that's where Joseph's when Joseph, what's the word I'm looking for? His redemption, his assistance finally comes in. So let's continue. Paragraph 9. So it says that after 2 years, after we finally enter the realm of remembrance, after the central column is revealed, after the level of Yesod of Zerampin, the energy of Joseph is finally, it's time for Joseph's energy to rule. What happens? Pharaoh has a dream and he's standing by the Nile. So Pharaoh's dreaming and he has two dreams. First, he stands by the Nile, he sees the fat cows and the skinny cows, and we're going to go more into the dream later. But this dream represents finally as we'll see, represents the Joseph. It's time for Joseph to shine, to be free. Yosef hava. It was a dream that Pharaoh had, but really it was a dream of Joseph. It was a dream that had to do with Joseph, and finally his time to be free. It represents the realm of remembrance. That finally the realm of Yesod of Zerampin, the light of Joseph to shine. Because Pharaoh in his dream saw a river, the Nile, and every time you see a river refers to the energy of Joseph, the energy of Yesod. And this is the secret of whoever sees a river in their dream, Chame Shalom. If you see a river in your dream, it means that you're dreaming of peace. It means that you're dreaming of the realm of level of Yesod, the energy of Joseph the righteous, which represents peace, which represents flow, which represents blessings. Dichtiv, as it says, Hinani noteh eleha kenahar shalom. As it says in the book of Isaiah, that the Creator says, I will extend peace to her like a river. Meaning the river represents the energy of peace, the energy of Yesod, the energy of Joseph the righteous. And that's the frame of peace is always level of Yesod. Okay, that's the end of chapter 1. Let's begin chapter 2, which we're now going to go a little bit into the dream. Kind of. Okay, so the dream, the chapter 2 is titled, And It Came to Pass at the End of 2 Years. Another explanation. Now actually going into the portion. Before we understood about the end of the left, now we're going to go into the portion a little bit. Miketz that time. It was at the end of 2 years. Now, by the way, the phrasing Shnatayim Yamim is a strange phrasing because it literally translates as Shnatayim means 2 years, but Yamim means days. So it's like at the end of days of 2 years, something like that. Rabbi Chia opens and says, Melech b'mishpat yamid aretz ve'ish terumot yehersena. Quotes a verse in Proverbs that says, "The king by justice establishes the land, but he who exacts gifts, meaning takes bribes, overthrows it." Okay, so the king with justice, mishpat, establishes the land, but the man who takes gifts, the man who takes bribes, will destroy it, will overthrow it. Tachazeh, come and see. When the Creator created the supernal world, the spiritual realm, which represents the energy of Binah, spiritual storehouse of all the blessings. The Creator set everything up perfectly as it should be. And the Creator revealed supernal lights that shine from all ends, which mean the Creator set up a 3-column system. And it was all one, all unified. The Creator created the heavens above, which represent the energy of Zerampin. And the land down below, which represents the realm of the Nukva, the Malchut, the vessel. The light in the vessel was created. Also the physical and spiritual world were created. For everything to be perfected and established as one, which means the level of Bina, Zerampin, and Malchut, for that flow to be set up as one. For the benefit of the lower realm, for the benefit of the lower beings, for our benefit, for the benefit of creation. Paragraph 11. Tachazeh, come and see. Melech b'mishpat yamid aretz. When it says in the verse that the king by justice establishes the land, man melech, who is this king that we're talking about? This represents the light of the Creator, the whole and blessed be He, the level of Zeir Apin. B'mishpat, when it says that it's by justice. Da Yaakov, here we're talking about the energy of Jacob, which represents. Oh, excuse me. My bad. Who is the king? That's the Holy One, blessed be He, represent the Creator. That's the realm of Binah. Excuse me, I said Zerampin. It's the realm of Binah, represents like the source of light, energy of Binah. B'mishpat, when it says with justice. Da Yaakov, that's Jacob, representing the energy of Zerampin. Diyu Kiyuma Da'ara, which represents the foundation, the sustenance of the land, the existence of the land. Therefore, the Vav is nourished by the upper Hey. Hey Tata'a it Zanat min Vav. And the lower Hey is nourished by the Vav. So here we're talking about the Tetragrammaton. We know that the 4 letters of the Tetragrammaton represents the light of flow. The Vav, representing Zerampin, is nourished from the Hey, which represents Bina, and then the Malchut is nourished from the Vav. So the Vav receives from Bina and shares with Malchut. The Vav represents this channel of light, represents this intermediary, receiving endlessly to share endlessly. Receiving from Bina to share with Malchut. And that's why Dikiyuma Da'ara Ihu B'mishpat. That's why the sustenance of the land is of the earth, of the land, is what's called b'mishpat, with justice. B'mishpat yamid aretz, as it says. Ha-mishpat yamid aretz, because that represents the energy of Zerampin. As we said, energy of Zerampin is like that vav that channels the endless light from the endless world down into Malchut. Bechot tikunoi v'zanla, that the Zerampin is responsible for transmitting all the light and nourishing the Malchut. And our job in life is to be like the Vav. Our job is to be a channel. Our job is to receive for the sake of sharing, to be that light in this world. I'm not the source of it, the Creator, right? Binah is the source, and I am, it also doesn't end with me. I'm not just a vessel, I am a channel. And when the Zohar speaks about this, it gives us the ability to live like this. Paragraph 12. Devarcha, another explanation. Melech, in the verse when it says the king, who is the king? Dakut shebrichu, this represents the light of the Creator. B'mishpat, what is injustice, by justice? Da Yosef, this represents Joseph. Ya'amid aretz, when it says establishes the land. Dichi v'chol haaretz ba'u mitzrayma lishbor el Yosef. It says that, so now, when it says the king establishes the land, with justice, it means that Joseph establishes the land, meaning in the time when after the famine began, as we know, it says the whole world came to Joseph to receive food, which means that Joseph sustained everyone. That the Creator desires and loves Jacob so much. He made Joseph the ruler of the world, because also Joseph represented the central column like Jacob. Paragraph 13. Rabbi Yosef says, he explains a little differently, this verse. Melech da Yosef. He says the king represents Joseph. B'mishpat yamid haaretz, when it says that with justice establishes the land, da Yaakov, this represents Jacob. Instead of Joseph, he says it represents Jacob. Daha ad la ata Yaakov leMitzrayim, because until Jacob came to Egypt, lahave kiyuma be'ara bigo kafna. Egypt was not sustained because of the famine. We know that Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dream to mean there was going to be 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. And Joseph made a plan to save all the food, to conserve food for 7 years. When there was extra food, they saved it. And then during the years of famine, they rationed out that food. It says there was supposed to be 7 years of famine, but because Joseph brought Jacob to Egypt, it says the famine ended, and the famine was only 2 years instead of 7 years. When Jacob came to Egypt, in his merit, the famine ended, and the world was sustained, and the land was sustained. I know we're supposed to finish, but I'm going to squeeze in a little bit more. Paragraph 14. Another explanation. Melech b'mishpat yamid eretz. What does it mean that the king, by justice, establishes the land? Da David Malka. Another explanation is that this represents King David. Right? We said before, represents the Creator, represents Joseph, now we're saying it represents King David. When King David became king, it says that King David executed true justice, using that same word, mishpat, justice, among his people. And tzedakah, right? Tzedakah is charity or justice as well to all of the nation. He sustained the world, David being the level of Malchut as well. And therefore, the after David's passing, the world was still sustained in his merit. It's through David's light that there was peace, because during the time of King Solomon, there was, after King David established the kingdom, King Solomon kept the kingdom in peace. And then we'll see Ve'ish trumot yihasenu, but it says a man who exacts gifts, someone who takes bribes, overthrows it. He ruins everything that was created with justice. Da Rechavam. That refers to Rechavam. Rechavam was King David's grandson, King Solomon's son. He took over as king, and he actually split the whole nation. He was a man of, Rav Shimon says, a man of pride, a man of ego. And he even said when he became king, he asked his advisors, how should I rule the kingdom? And the elders told him, be merciful, win the people over. His young friends from school, they told him that, be ruthless with them. And he said, Avi yisar etchem bashotim. My father, he flogged you with whips. Vani yaser etchem ba'akrabim. I will flog you with scorpions. If my father had a certain way of running this world, I'm going to be much harsher. And that caused for him to lose the kingdom, to split the kingdom. And he destroyed what his father and grandfather set up. Okay, we have to stop. So we're going to stop here. We're going to continue tomorrow with paragraph 15, a little bit more about the power of the tzaddikim, a little bit more going into actually Pharaoh and the dynamic, and understanding more of what's happening in the beginning of this beautiful portion. Thank you all for joining. Lots of love to everyone, and see you tomorrow.